Have you ever felt like life just pulled the rug out from under you? One moment, everything seems fine, and the next, you're standing in the wreckage of something you thought would last. A relationship crumbles, a dream job slips away, or an unexpected loss leaves you feeling unmoored. In times like these, it's easy to wonder, why is this happening to me? Why does life feel so unpredictable, so unfair? But what if I told you that nothing is random? That, according to Buddhism, every experience, whether joyful or heartbreaking, is a thread in a much larger tapestry, woven with purpose and hidden wisdom. What if, instead of asking why, we started asking, what is this here to teach me? Today we'll embark on a journey of self-discovery, peeling back the layers of suffering, karma, impermanence, and the art of letting go. Together we'll uncover the powerful Buddhist insights that can transform pain into wisdom and chaos into clarity. By the end of this video, you may just find that the struggles you once feared were actually stepping stones leading you to something greater. Let's begin. The law of impermanence, embracing the flow of change. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is Anicca, or impermanence. Everything in life, our emotions, relationships, physical health, and even the world around us, is in a constant state of flux. Yet, as humans, we often fight against this reality. We cling to moments of happiness, desperate to make them last forever, while resisting painful experiences, hoping they will vanish overnight. This resistance is the root of much of our suffering. Imagine standing in a river, trying to hold onto the water as it rushes past your hands. The tighter you grasp, the more it slips through your fingers. But if you simply let your hands rest in the current, feeling the cool water flow over your skin, you experience the river without the frustration of trying to control it. Life is no different. It is always moving, always changing. The key to peace is not in stopping the flow, but in learning to move with it. Consider the story of a wise old monk who lived in a small village. One day, a distraught young man came to him, grieving over the loss of his father. Tears streamed down his face as he cried out, "Why must life be so cruel? Why must everything I love be taken away from me?" The monk, sitting quietly under a great tree, simply picked up a handful of sand and let it slip through his fingers. "Life is like this sand," he said gently. "No matter how tightly you try to hold on to it, it will always fall away. But if you hold it with an open palm, you can still feel its warmth and weight without losing yourself in the fear of letting go." Seasons offer another profound metaphor for impermanence. In autumn, leaves turn golden and fall to the ground. A tree does not resist or mourn the loss of its leaves. It simply lets them go, knowing that spring will bring new life. But imagine if a tree tried to cling to every leaf, refusing to shed them. It would only burden itself, preventing the cycle of renewal. Just as the tree trusts the rhythm of the seasons, we too must learn to trust the rhythm of life. Buddha once said, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." This wisdom is not just a poetic sentiment. It is a call to embrace impermanence as a path to true freedom. The past is a memory. The future is uncertain, but the present moment is alive and real. It is the only place where life truly happens. Many of us struggle with impermanence when it comes to relationships. We hold on tightly to people, fearing change, dreading loss. But relationships, like everything else, evolve. Some people come into our lives for a short season, while others stay for many years. Rather than resisting change, what if we cherished the time we have, fully present, without the anxiety of an unknown future? Imagine the depth of love and appreciation we could experience if we embraced each moment for what it is, rather than what we wish it would be. A woman once asked a Buddhist teacher how to deal with the fear of losing loved ones. The teacher handed her a clay cup and said, Look at this cup. To me it is already broken. Because I accept its eventual breaking, I can enjoy it fully while it is still whole. This simple yet profound perspective reminds us that nothing lasts forever, and in that truth, we can find immense gratitude for the time we have. Impermanence does not mean we should become indifferent or emotionless. Rather, it calls us to love more deeply, live more fully, and let go more gracefully. When we stop clinging to what must inevitably change, we create space for peace. We stop fearing the future and regretting the past. We step into the river of life, not as victims of its current, but as participants in its beautiful, ever-changing flow. The question is not, how do I stop change, but rather, how do I flow with it? The power of karma, planting the seeds of your future. Nothing in life happens randomly. Every action, every thought, and every word carries energy, shaping our reality. This is the essence of karma, not as a system of reward and punishment, but as the natural law of cause and effect. It's not about divine judgment or cosmic retribution, but about the undeniable truth that what we put into the world will, sooner or later, return to us. Imagine dropping a stone into a still lake. The ripples spread outward, affecting everything in their path. Likewise, our actions create ripples that influence not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us. Sometimes, karma is immediate. Other times, it takes years or even lifetimes to manifest. But one thing is certain, no action is ever wasted. Every choice we make, whether big or small, shapes the course of our lives in ways we may not yet understand. There's an old Buddhist parable about a disciple who asked his teacher why some people seem blessed with good fortune while others suffer endlessly. The teacher replied, "If you plant apple seeds, you will grow apples. If you plant thorns, you will grow thorns." Our lives are shaped by the seeds we have sown. This simple yet profound truth reminds us that our present reality is not the result of random chance, but the outcome of past actions, both seen and unseen. To illustrate this, let's consider the story of a man named Arun. Arun was a respected merchant, known for his generosity. Whenever a beggar came to his shop, he would offer food and never turned anyone away. His friends often teased him, saying, "Why waste your hard-earned money on those who may never repay you?" Arun would simply smile and say, "I do not give to receive. I give because it is the right thing to do." Years passed, and Arun's business flourished. But one day, disaster struck. A fire consumed his shop, reducing everything he had built to ashes. He lost his wealth overnight. Many of his so-called friends turned their backs on him, unwilling to help now that he had nothing to offer. Yet something remarkable happened. The beggars he had once helped, now skilled laborers and successful traders, came together to rebuild his shop. They refused to let him suffer alone. "We are simply repaying a debt of kindness," they told him. Arun had planted the seeds of generosity without expecting anything in return, and in his time of need, his past kindness blossomed into salvation. This is karma in action, not as superstition, but as a reflection of how the energy we send into the world inevitably circles back to us. The good news: karma is not fate. We are not trapped by our past mistakes or bound to a predetermined destiny. We have the power to change our lives at any moment by choosing kindness, wisdom, and compassion over negativity and resentment. Every act of goodness, no matter how small, shifts the direction of our karma and plants the seeds of a brighter future. But just as good deeds bear fruit, negative actions also carry consequences. A person who spreads anger and deceit may not feel its effects immediately, but sooner or later, the energy they have unleashed will find its way back to them. A man who deceives others will eventually find himself surrounded by distrust. A person who harms others will one day face harm in return. The cycle continues, unbroken. Buddha once said, "Just as the wheel of a cart follows the hoof of the ox that draws it, so suffering follows wrongdoing. But equally, happiness follows those who cultivate virtue, just as surely as a shadow follows the body." So what kind of seeds are you planting today? Are they seeds of anger, envy, and selfishness, or seeds of patience, love, and understanding? The garden of your future depends on what you sow now. The next time you are faced with a choice, whether to respond with kindness or bitterness, with truth or deceit, pause, take a breath, ask yourself, what kind of karma am I creating? Because one day, whether in this lifetime or the next, the seeds you plant will bear fruit. And when that time comes, may it be a harvest of joy, not regret. Attachment and suffering, the art of letting go. We often believe that happiness depends on external things, relationships, success, possessions. We chase after them, believing that once we have the right job, the perfect partner, or the dream home, we will finally feel complete. But Buddhism teaches that suffering arises not from the presence or absence of these things, but from our attachment to them. It is not love that brings suffering, it is the fear of loss, the desperate clinging to what we cannot control. Imagine a child standing on the shore, holding a handful of sand. At first they hold it gently, feeling its warmth against their skin. But as soon as they begin to squeeze, afraid of losing it, the grains start slipping through their fingers. The tighter they grip, the faster it escapes, until nothing remains but an empty palm. This is how attachment works. The more we try to possess something, whether it's a person, a moment, or an achievement, the more we suffer when it inevitably changes or slips away. There's an ancient Buddhist story about a wise old master and his disciple. The disciple, heartbroken after his fiancée left him, went to his teacher seeking comfort. "Master," he lamented, "I loved her with all my heart. How do I stop this unbearable pain?" The master listened patiently, then handed him a cup of hot tea. "Hold this," he said. The disciple took the cup in his hands. At first it was warm and comforting, but soon it became too hot to bear. "It burns," the disciple exclaimed. The master nodded. "Then why don't you let it go?" This is the essence of letting go. Holding on to something that is causing pain, whether it be a past love, an unfulfilled dream, or an expectation of how life should be, only prolongs suffering. But the moment we release our grip, we allow ourselves to heal, to move forward, to be free. But letting go doesn't mean detachment in the cold, indifferent sense. It doesn't mean shutting ourselves off from love, experiences, or dreams. Instead, it means embracing life fully while understanding that nothing is permanent. A love free from attachment does not seek to possess. It cherishes each moment, knowing that change is inevitable. It does not demand. It does not cling. It simply flows, like a river that moves effortlessly toward the ocean. Think about the last time you resisted change. Maybe it was the end of a relationship, the loss of a job, or a major life transition. How much of your suffering came from the event itself, and how much came from your resistance to it? Often it is not reality that causes us pain, but our refusal to accept it. A Zen master once told his students, "If you want to know peace, let go of the rope." Confused, they asked him what he meant. He explained, "Imagine you are hanging off the edge of a cliff, holding onto a rope. Below you there is nothing but darkness. You grip tighter, terrified of falling. But what you cannot see is that just below the mist, there is solid ground. If you only had the courage to let go, you would realize you were never in danger at all. Letting go is not about giving up. It is about trusting life. It is about understanding that we cannot control everything, and that true freedom comes from surrendering to the natural flow of existence. When we stop fearing loss, we find a peace we never imagined possible. We stop chasing and start being. We stop grasping and start experiencing. And in that space of openness and acceptance, we find the kind of happiness that no external thing could ever provide. So the next time you find yourself clinging, whether to a person, a past mistake, or a future hope, pause. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, am I holding on to this out of love or out of fear? If the answer is fear, then maybe, just maybe, it's time to let go. And in that letting go, you may just find a new kind of love, one that is boundless, fearless, and free. The wisdom of acceptance, finding serenity in what is. Life rarely unfolds the way we plan. We map out our future, set expectations, and hold on to our desires, believing that if we just try hard enough, we can bend life to our will. But reality has its own rhythm. Sometimes things fall apart, plans unravel, people leave, dreams shift, and in those moments we resist. We ask, why me? We cling to the idea that things should be different. But Buddhism offers a radical truth. True peace comes not from controlling life, but from accepting it as it is. Consider the Zen story of the farmer whose horse ran away. His neighbors rushed to offer their condolences. What a terrible misfortune, they said. But the farmer, calm and unmoved, simply replied, who knows if this is good or bad? Days later, the horse returned, this time bringing with it a group of wild horses. The neighbors rejoiced, celebrating his sudden stroke of luck. Yet again, the farmer said, who knows if this is good or bad? Later, while taming one of the wild horses, the farmer's son fell and broke his leg. Again, the neighbors lamented his misfortune. But weeks later, when soldiers came to recruit young men for war, they passed over the farmer's son because of his injury. What once seemed like tragedy had become a blessing in disguise. The lesson: life is always unfolding in ways we cannot yet see. A closed door today might be protecting us from something we don't yet understand. A painful ending might be clearing the way for something better. The challenge is to trust the journey, even when we don't know where it's leading. But acceptance isn't just about surrendering to what happens around us. It's also about making peace with what happens within us. We carry so much weight: regrets from the past, fears of the future, expectations of how things should be. And often it's not life itself that burdens us, but our resistance to it. There's a story of a monk traveling with his disciple. As they walked, they came upon a river where a woman stood hesitating to cross. Without a second thought, the monk lifted her onto his back, carried her across, and set her down on the other side. The disciple, shocked, said nothing. Hours later, as they continued their journey, he finally blurted out, "Master, how could you do that? We are monks. We are not supposed to touch women." The monk smiled and replied, "I set her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" How often do we carry things long after we should have let them go? We replay past mistakes, hold on to grudges, and refuse to accept things as they are. But the truth is, clinging to the past doesn't change it. Worrying about the future doesn't control it. The only moment we ever truly have is now. And the more we resist reality, the more we suffer. So what does acceptance actually look like? It doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean we stop working toward our goals or let life happen to us. Instead, it means meeting each moment with openness. It means recognizing that even in uncertainty, there is wisdom. Even in pain, there is growth. Even in loss, there is renewal. Think about the last time something didn't go your way. Maybe you lost a job, went through a breakup, or faced an unexpected challenge. At the time, it felt like the worst thing that could happen. But looking back, can you see how it shaped you? How it led you to something new? Acceptance is not giving up. It is letting go of the illusion that we should have control over everything. It is trusting that life knows what it's doing, even when we don't. So the next time life doesn't go as planned, take a deep breath. Instead of fighting it, ask yourself, what if this is happening for me, not to me? What if this is part of my journey, leading me exactly where I need to be? When you surrender to what is, you open yourself to what could be, and that in itself is freedom. Transforming pain into wisdom. Suffering is universal, but how we respond to it is what defines us. Life does not grant immunity from pain. No one is spared from loss, failure, or disappointment. Yet within these trials lies an opportunity, a chance to grow, to understand, to become something more than we were before. Many of the greatest lessons in life come wrapped in hardship. It is in loss that we learn resilience, in failure that we develop strength, in heartbreak that we discover self-love. A young monk once asked his teacher why suffering exists. The teacher, instead of answering, handed him a handful of salt and told him to mix it in a glass of water. The monk took a sip and immediately grimaced. It was undrinkable. Then the teacher led him to a vast lake and had him throw the same amount of salt into it. "Now drink," he instructed. This time the water tasted pure. The teacher smiled and said, "Suffering is like this salt. It does not change. But what changes is the container in which we hold it. If your heart is small, suffering will consume you. But if you expand your heart, suffering becomes insignificant." This story reveals a profound truth. Pain itself is not the enemy. It is our relationship to it that matters. Some people, when faced with hardship, collapse under its weight. Others, facing the same hardship, use it as a stepping stone to something greater. Why the difference? It is the size of their heart, the depth of their perspective, the willingness to see pain not as punishment, but as a teacher. Consider the life of a sculptor. When handed a raw block of stone, he does not see its imperfections. He sees its potential. With each strike of the chisel, pieces of the stone are chipped away, not to destroy it, but to reveal something more beautiful beneath. Pain, when approached with wisdom, serves the same purpose. It chisels away our illusions, our fears, our false attachments, until what remains is something raw, authentic, and true. There is a Japanese practice called kintsugi, the art of repairing broken pottery with gold. Instead of discarding shattered pieces, artisans mend them with care, filling the cracks with precious metal. The result? The object becomes more beautiful, not in spite of its fractures, but because of them. This is what transforming pain into wisdom looks like. We do not erase our wounds, we honor them. We fill them with understanding, compassion, and resilience, making them a part of our story, rather than something to be ashamed of. So the next time you encounter pain, pause. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" Perhaps a betrayal is teaching you the value of self-respect. Perhaps failure is guiding you toward a path you were always meant to walk. Perhaps loss is reminding you to love more deeply, to cherish the present moment. Pain can be the fire that purifies us, revealing our truest selves. A seed must break apart before it can sprout. A caterpillar must dissolve before it can transform into a butterfly. The most beautiful stories often begin in struggle. But those who learn from pain, who embrace it instead of resisting it, emerge with wisdom that cannot be taught, only earned. And so when life tests you, do not shrink. expand, become the lake, not the glass. Hold your suffering with a vast heart and watch as it no longer consumes you, but instead shapes you into something extraordinary. The path to enlightenment, walking with purpose. At its core, Buddhism teaches that life's challenges are not obstacles. They are the path itself. Enlightenment is not a distant goal, hidden away in some mystical realm, nor is it reserved only for monks and sages. It is not something we attain after years of struggle, but rather a shift in how we perceive the world, a transformation in the way we walk through life. It is about seeing things as they truly are, rather than through the lens of fear, attachment, or illusion. There is a story of a young seeker who traveled to meet a revered Buddhist master. He asked, "Master, how long will it take me to reach enlightenment?" The master looked at him and replied, 10 years. The seeker, impatient, said, "That is too long. What if I work twice as hard, meditate day and night, and dedicate every moment to the path?" The master smiled and said, "Then it will take you 20 years. Confused, the seeker asked, "Why longer?" The master gently explained, "Because if you are focused only on the destination, you will never truly walk the path." This is one of the greatest lessons in Buddhism. Enlightenment is not about getting somewhere. It is about how we move through life. Every experience, every moment, is an opportunity to awaken. The frustrations we feel, the pain we endure, the lessons we resist. These are not detours, they are the journey. When we accept impermanence, act with kindness, release attachment, and trust in the wisdom of life, we move closer to inner peace. But this is not always easy. We want certainty, control, and guarantees. We want the road ahead to be smooth, the answers to be clear. But the truth is, life often unfolds in ways we do not expect. It asks us to grow in ways we never planned, and sometimes it takes away what we think we need, only to give us something far greater. Imagine a sculptor faced with a rough block of marble. To the untrained eye, it looks like an ordinary stone, heavy, unremarkable. But the sculptor sees something hidden beneath its surface. With every strike of the chisel, pieces fall away. The process may seem destructive, even painful, but each cut is intentional. Each strike is revealing something beautiful underneath. This is how life shapes us. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of loss is like a strike of the chisel. At times we may feel like we are being chipped away, that life is taking things from us. But in reality, it is carving away the unnecessary, revealing the truth of who we are. Enlightenment is not about adding more. It is about removing what blocks us from seeing clearly. In a small village, there was once an elderly monk who spent his days tending to a garden. One day, a traveler approached him and asked, "Master, what is the key to a peaceful life?" The monk, without speaking, handed the traveler a heavy rock. The traveler took it, confused, and waited. Minutes passed. His arms began to ache. "Master, this is heavy," he finally said. The monk simply replied, "Then put it down." How often do we carry burdens that we could simply release? We hold on to resentment, regret, expectations, and fear, believing that we must carry them. But true peace comes from knowing what to hold on to and what to let go of. If today feels heavy, trust that this moment is preparing you for something greater. Keep walking, keep learning, and keep your heart open to the lessons life offers. The path is not somewhere far away. It is right here, beneath your feet. And every step you take, no matter how uncertain, is leading you exactly where you need to be. Closing your journey starts now. Life is a journey of constant unfolding, a path filled with lessons disguised as challenges and wisdom hidden in the everyday moments we often overlook. The teachings of Buddhism remind us that suffering is not the end. It is the beginning of transformation. That pain, when met with understanding, can become our greatest teacher. That impermanence is not something to fear, but something to embrace. And that true freedom comes not from grasping for control, but from learning to let go. As you step away from this video and return to the world, carry these insights with you. Observe your life with new eyes. Notice where you resist change, where you hold on to the past, where you struggle against what is. And then ask yourself, what if I chose acceptance instead? What if I allowed life to unfold, trusting that each moment, no matter how difficult, is shaping me into the person I am meant to become? Remember, enlightenment is not a distant destination, nor is it reserved for a chosen few. It is available to anyone who is willing to wake up, to see life clearly, to live with intention, and to walk with purpose. You are already on that path. Every moment of awareness, every act of kindness, every lesson embraced brings you closer. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to continue this journey with us. Subscribe to Quiet Wisdom and become part of a community dedicated to seeking truth, peace, and inner awakening. Let's walk this path together, learning, growing, and discovering the wisdom that has always been within us. What lesson from today's video spoke to you the most? Share it in the comments below. Your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this message touched your heart, consider sharing it with someone who may need these words. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up for yourself, for your growth, for your own enlightenment. Remember, everything happens for a reason. Trust the journey, and let's continue walking it together.